Most people wake up, drink coffee, and wonder why they feel exhausted by noon. But there's something happening in your body every single morning between 5 and 8 a.m. that most doctors never talk about. A narrow window where your cells are primed, your digestive system is awakening, and your inflammatory response is at its most vulnerable. What you put into your body in that window doesn't just affect your morning. It sets the biological tone for the next 16 hours. And for adults over 60, getting this window right could be the difference between a body that's slowly breaking down and one that's quietly repairing itself while you go about your day. Scientists at the University of Toronto identified something remarkable in 2021. People who consumed a specific combination of compounds before their first meal showed measurable reductions in fasting inflammation markers within just 3 weeks. Not months, 3 weeks. What they were drinking costs less than 40 cents a day and takes 90 seconds to prepare. Stay with me, because I'm going to show you exactly what it is, why it works, and precisely how to make it. I'm Dr. James, and this channel exists for one reason: to bring you the latest evidence-based health research, translated into clear, practical guidance that actually fits your life after 60. If you haven't subscribed yet, I'd encourage you to do that now so you don't miss what we're covering in the coming weeks. Now let's get into this, because once you understand what's happening in your body during that early morning window, you're going to want to make this drink today. The drink I'm talking about is a warm morning elixir built around 4 ingredients: warm water, raw apple cider vinegar, fresh lemon juice, and a pinch of ground ginger. Before you scroll past thinking you've heard this before, stay with me. Because what most people don't understand is not just what these ingredients do individually, but what they do together, and specifically why timing matters so profoundly for the aging body. This isn't folk medicine. The science behind each component is deep, well-documented, and increasingly supported by randomized controlled trials published in major journals. Let me explain what's happening in your body before breakfast, and then you'll understand exactly why this combination is so powerful. When you wake up after 7 or 8 hours without food, your body is in a fasting state. Blood sugar is at its lowest point of the day. Cortisol, your stress hormone, peaks naturally between 6 and 8 a.m. as your body prepares itself to move and function. Gut motility, meaning the movement of your digestive tract, is slower during sleep and begins to wake up just as you do. For people over 60, this morning's metabolic window is especially significant because aging changes how efficiently the body manages inflammation, blood sugar, and gut bacteria. The morning is when you can either feed those problems or begin correcting them. Here's where apple cider vinegar comes in, and I want you to pay close attention to this part. Raw apple cider vinegar, the kind with what's called the mother, which is that cloudy sediment you see at the bottom of the bottle, contains something called acetic acid. And acetic acid does something remarkable to your blood sugar that most people have never been told. A landmark study published in the journal Diabetes Care found that consuming 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar before a high-carbohydrate meal reduced post-meal blood sugar spikes by up to 34% in people with insulin resistance. 34%. That's not a small number. For seniors, whose insulin sensitivity naturally decreases with age, this matters enormously. High post-meal blood sugar isn't just a concern for diabetics. It drives inflammation throughout the body, accelerates cellular aging, and contributes to the fatigue and mental fog that so many people over 60 just accept as normal aging. But the blood sugar benefit is only the beginning. Acetic acid also appears to influence something called AMPK, which stands for adenosine monophosphate activated protein kinase. I know that sounds complicated, so let me simplify it. AMPK is essentially a cellular energy switch. When it's activated, it tells your cells to start burning stored fat for energy, to reduce inflammation, and to repair damaged cellular components. Exercise activates AMPK. Fasting activates AMPK. And research from the journal Nutrients published in 2022 confirmed that acetic acid activates AMPK as well. You're essentially giving your body a mild metabolic reset before you've even eaten breakfast. Now let's talk about what lemon juice adds to this picture, because it's doing something entirely different and equally important. Fresh lemon juice is rich in vitamin C, of course, But the more interesting compound here is something called citric acid and a flavonoid called hesperidin. A 2020 study published in Frontiers in Nutrition found that hesperidin, which is present in significant quantities in fresh lemon juice, specifically reduced levels of a key inflammation marker called interleukin-6 in older adults. Interleukin-6 is one of the primary drivers of what researchers now call inflammaging, a term for the low-grade chronic inflammation that silently accelerates nearly every age-related disease, including heart disease, cognitive decline, arthritis, and metabolic disorders. Addressing inflammaging in the morning, before your body is exposed to the inflammatory triggers of food, stress, and activity, gives you a meaningful head start. There's something else lemon does that almost nobody talks about. When warm lemon water reaches your stomach in a fasted state, it stimulates the production of bile from your gallbladder. For people over 60, bile production often becomes sluggish. Sluggish bile means poor fat digestion, which contributes to bloating, discomfort after meals, and poor absorption of fat-soluble vitamins like D, E, K, and A. Vitamins that seniors are disproportionately deficient in. By priming your bile production before breakfast, you're actually improving how well your body will absorb nutrients from every meal you eat that day. Not just breakfast, all day. I want to pause here and ask you something. Have you noticed that you feel more bloated after meals than you did 10 or 20 years ago? That digestion seems slower, heavier. If that resonates with you, comment the word bloating below so I can get a sense of how many people watching this are experiencing this exact issue. Because what I'm about to tell you about the third ingredient may be the most important thing you hear today. Ginger. Ground ginger seems simple, almost too simple. But the research on ginger in the aging body is extraordinary. A 2019 meta-analysis published in the journal Phytotherapy Research analyzed 17 randomized controlled trials and found that ginger supplementation significantly reduced fasting blood sugar, hemoglobin A1C, and inflammatory markers including C-reactive protein in adults with metabolic conditions. But ginger's most underappreciated benefit for seniors is its effect on gut motility. As we age, the nerves and muscles of the gastrointestinal tract lose some of their responsiveness. The technical term is gastroparesis, which simply means delayed stomach emptying. Even mild gastroparesis contributes to constipation, bloating, acid reflux, and nutrient malabsorption. Ginger compounds called gingerols and shogaols directly stimulate the muscles of the gastrointestinal tract, speeding up gastric emptying by as much as 25% according to research from the American Journal of Gastroenterology. Think about what this means in the context of your morning drink. You're taking ginger before your stomach has any food in it, when those gastric muscles are at their slowest. You're essentially giving your entire digestive system a gentle wake-up signal. By the time you eat breakfast 30 to 60 minutes later, your gut is moving, your bile is primed, your blood sugar regulation is already being assisted, and inflammation is already being addressed. Your body is in a state of readiness that it simply wouldn't be in without this drink. Now, I want to tell you about Margaret, a 71-year-old retired teacher who came to me after years of struggling with what she called her afternoon wall. Every day at around 2 in the afternoon, Margaret would hit a point of such profound fatigue and mental fog that she'd have to lie down. She'd been tested for everything: thyroid, anemia, sleep apnea. Everything came back normal. What was actually happening was a pattern of blood sugar instability starting first thing in the morning. Margaret had been starting her day with black coffee on an empty stomach, which spiked her cortisol and triggered a blood sugar response before she'd even eaten. By the time her afternoon meal rolled around, her blood sugar was already dysregulated. We didn't add medications. We didn't overhaul her diet. We started her morning with this drink, consumed 30 minutes before she ate anything. Within 3 weeks, Margaret's 2 p.m. wall had essentially disappeared. Her fasting blood glucose, which had been at the high end of normal at 103, dropped to 94 over 8 weeks. Small change, enormous impact on how she felt. But here's what surprised me most about the research when I dug deeper into this. And I want to make sure you're still with me for this, because this next part connects everything together. Warm water itself, not hot, not cold, but warm water between 98 and 105 degrees Fahrenheit has measurable physiological effects that cold or room temperature water does not. Research from the Journal of Neurogastroenterology and Motility found that warm water specifically accelerates bowel movement frequency and reduces colon transit time, meaning food moves through your system faster and more completely. This matters because slower colon transit time is directly linked to higher levels of endotoxins, harmful bacterial byproducts that leak from the gut into the bloodstream and drive systemic inflammation. Warm water is not an optional detail of this morning drink. It's an active ingredient. There's another layer here that most people miss entirely: the gut microbiome. This is the collection of trillions of bacteria living in your digestive tract, and it functions almost like a second immune system. Research published in Nature Medicine in 2023 confirmed that adults over 60 with higher microbial diversity have lower rates of cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, and all-cause mortality than those with low microbial diversity. The combination of apple cider vinegar, lemon, and ginger has all been independently shown to act as what researchers call prebiotics, meaning they feed and support beneficial gut bacteria. You're not just reducing inflammation this morning. You're feeding the bacteria that will protect you against inflammation for weeks and months to come. Let me share one more story quickly. Frank was 68 when his doctor told him his triglycerides were elevated and recommended he consider going on statin therapy. Frank was resistant to medication and asked if there were lifestyle interventions worth trying first. His doctor gave him 3 months. Frank added this morning drink to his routine, along with a moderate reduction in refined carbohydrates. At his 3-month follow-up, his triglycerides had dropped from 215 to 164. His fasting glucose had fallen from 109 to 96. His doctor agreed to hold off on the statin. Frank still drinks this every morning 2 years later. Now, a critical point I want to address before we get to the protocol. Some people have read online that apple cider vinegar is hard on tooth enamel or can irritate the esophagus. Both of those concerns are valid if you're drinking it incorrectly, meaning undiluted or in large quantities. In the diluted form I'm going to describe, at the doses I recommend, the research does not support concerns about enamel erosion. A 2021 review in the British Dental Journal found that diluted ACV consumed with a straw presented minimal risk to enamel compared to other commonly consumed acidic beverages like orange juice or soda. That said, if you have active reflux or esophageal conditions, please check with your doctor before starting this, as I'll explain in the protocol. Here's exactly what you should do. Every morning, before you eat anything, and ideally before coffee, prepare your healing morning drink. Start with 8 to 10 ounces of warm water. Warm means it should feel comfortable on your wrist, roughly the temperature of a warm bath. Not boiling, not cold. To that warm water, add 2 teaspoons of raw apple cider vinegar with the mother. Bragg's is the most widely available brand, found at virtually every grocery store, Walmart, or on Amazon. You want to see cloudy sediment in the bottle. That cloudy material contains the beneficial enzymes and bacteria that clear vinegar lacks. Next, add the juice of half a fresh lemon, which is approximately 2 tablespoons. Don't use bottled lemon juice if you can avoid it. The pasteurization process reduces the hesperidin content significantly. Finally, add 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger. You can use fresh grated ginger if you prefer, in which case use about half a teaspoon. Stir everything together and drink it through a straw. The straw is important. It routes the liquid past your front teeth, protecting enamel and making the flavor much easier to manage. Drink this 15 to 30 minutes before your first meal. That timing window is not arbitrary. Research from Arizona State University found that the blood sugar moderating effect of acetic acid is strongest when consumed 15 to 30 minutes pre-meal rather than with or after eating. Once you've finished the drink, rinse your mouth with plain water. Do not brush your teeth for 30 minutes after drinking anything acidic. Set a timer if you need to. Expect mild digestive activity in the first few days. Some people experience a slight increase in bowel activity or very mild bloating for the first 3 to 5 days as your gut bacteria adjust. This is normal and typically resolves within the first week. If you experience significant discomfort, burning, or worsening reflux, stop and consult your physician, as you may have an underlying esophageal condition that warrants evaluation first. who should be cautious with this drink. If you're taking potassium-lowering medications, blood pressure medications, or insulin, speak with your doctor before adding this to your routine, as apple cider vinegar can affect potassium levels and may enhance the effect of glucose-lowering medications. If you have chronic kidney disease, check with your healthcare provider, as the potassium in lemon may need to be monitored. For the vast majority of healthy seniors or those with well-managed conditions, this drink is extremely safe. But your doctor deserves to know what you're doing, especially if you're tracking lab values. For best results, commit to this for at least 8 weeks before evaluating whether it's working. Blood sugar improvements typically appear within 2 to 4 weeks. Digestive improvements often come sooner. Inflammation marker changes, if you're having labs done, generally show up at the 6 to 8 week mark. Some people notice improved energy and reduced afternoon fatigue within 10 to 14 days. You can also enhance this base drink over time. Adding 1 tablespoon of raw honey, specifically manuka or local raw honey, adds antimicrobial properties and prebiotics without significantly affecting blood sugar when kept to that small amount. Adding a tiny pinch of ground cinnamon, about 1/8 of a teaspoon, adds additional blood sugar support. Ceylon cinnamon is preferable to cassia cinnamon for daily use, as high doses of cassia contain a compound called coumarin that can stress the liver over time. Ceylon cinnamon is typically labeled as such and is available at most health food stores and online. So let's bring this all together. What you've learned today is that your body has a specific early morning biological window, particularly powerful after 60, where a few simple compounds can meaningfully redirect your metabolic and inflammatory trajectory for the entire day. Warm water primes your gut motility. Apple cider vinegar activates cellular energy pathways, moderates blood sugar, and feeds beneficial gut bacteria. Lemon juice addresses inflammaging at its source and primes bile production for better nutrient absorption. Ginger wakes up your digestive tract and reduces systemic inflammation markers. Together, these 4 ingredients create a synergistic morning signal that tells your body it's time to heal, repair, and protect. Now I want to hear from you. Comment which of the 4 ingredients surprises you most and why. Or if you've already been drinking something similar in the morning, tell me what you've been using and whether you've noticed a difference. This community has tens of thousands of seniors sharing what's actually working for real people, and your experience matters here. If this video was helpful, please subscribe to this channel so you don't miss our next video, where we're going to cover the single most common morning habit that's quietly raising blood pressure in people over 60. And it's not coffee. The answer surprises almost everyone. I'm Dr. James. Take care of yourself today, because the choices you make in these small morning moments are the ones that add up to years of better health.